world of aftermarket car culture, some enthusiasts will spend years and thousands of dollars chasing rare and discontinued parts. But for Honda fanatics, that obsession goes even further. They'll buy an entire car just to get one single rare part. Jose Mejia is one of those fanatics. What started as a passion for Hondas became a relentless pursuit of the rarest gems. Now, after years of buying, selling, and scavenging, he's turned his obsession into a full-time business.
You like all types of cars?
I like all types of cars, yeah, 100%. Obviously, Hondas is my main background. Believe it or not, my first car was a Mustang, a V6, right? The most random car. And I remember doing some street racing in high school and getting beat by like a 99 Honda Civic, I think it had an LS VTEC. And I was like, man, that little car is cool. And then I bought my first Honda, which was a 89 CRX, a B16, that somehow the VTEC was wired with a switch, like a nitrous setup, the most ghetto thing ever. From there, I just got really into it. Probably about 2008, I used to buy and sell cars. So I started from that as a side job. I had a regular job at Rouse. Bought this Honda, and it had all these cool parts or whatnot. Now the brother of the owner of the car that I purchased had another car, and I'm like, hey, I was like, you want to sell that wing? He's like, oh no, I want to sell it as a whole. I was like, okay. So I ended up, buying the whole car, and I just wanted a few parts. So I bought the car, and I started selling the parts that I didn't want. And I realized that obviously a lot of people put a lot of money into these cars. You never get what you put into those cars, right? So I bought the car, let's say for 10 grand. I parted it out, and I made X amount of money, let's say 15 grand. I'm like, that's actually good profit in this car, right? So from there, it kind of took off of this, buying cars and, selling the car still complete and by taking some of the goodies out.
I feel like Hondas in general, it's the most common when it comes to, hey, that has this part. I need to buy the whole car just for this part because said owner, it could be a valve cover.
Absolutely.
It could be a wing. It could be something so simple.
Absolutely. And I've been doing the same thing since day one to now. I just built that 97 Integra. It's a Mugen built, and that car is literally the exact example of what you just said. So I wanted the Mugen valve cover, and first you can find the valve cover, right? And then if somebody has it, they want an outrageous price of, let's say, like 9-10 grand for a valve cover. That it's a lot to just spend that money on. So I found this EG, a Honda Civic, right? And it had the valve cover in there. I'm like, dude, there it is, So obviously the car was a good deal, able to keep the valve cover, sell some parts, and kind of like make it a lot cheaper in that way. And, it's like you said, finding the parts is so hard. Cool. So this is my 97 Integra Type R with a pretty much full Mugen theme. I pretty much have everything except for the headers. And I found the headers, but it's one of those things that I wanted to go with Mugen. One of those things that are like most of the aesthetics, because obviously a lot of the power mods, they're so outdated and they don't make the power that, a new modern power will do. So I know I also didn't get the shocks, so we are on GRCs, but obviously if you're gonna compare a shock with a spring from 2000 to a GRC, it's not a match. So anything that is, like component of handling or whatnot, it is for, the most modern things. And except for the muffler. The muffler, we went with the Gen 1, and it just seemed very period correct.
This is the most perfect Integra I feel like I've ever seen.
Thank you. And believe it or not, so I was able to gather all the parts within 3 to 4 months. I obviously told a lot of people that I was, getting the parts, and it almost seemed like everyone was willing to sell me parts to make this thing happen. I don't think I would have ever imagined that I was able to, get everything in such a short time. I wanted to have a nice cruiser, and this is kind of what I came up with. I wasn't looking for something that I'm gonna be like, oh, I don't wanna drive it. I like enjoying my cars. I don't believe in having a car that you just can't enjoy and drive. So I had an Integra that was, I think 15,000 mile, all original, and I couldn't enjoy it because every time I drove it, I was so scared that something was gonna happen to it.
Do you think this was easier to do now as a modern build in 2024, 2025 versus back in the late 90s when this car was new?
You know, it's a good question. I think that it was definitely easier back then to acquire all the parts. Now, I think that none of us really appreciated all of these parts until now. So I think everything was accessible, but no one was going to be like, oh, let me build a real Mugen car, you know? Now it's kind of like, hey, you know, we realized, you know, all the thought and process that all these parts have, it's insane, right? Like a lot of the new parts are just not even comparable. Like,
it's interesting to me because if you think about it, if somebody had the foresight back in 1997 to buy this car as a brand new car, and they bought all the parts, it potentially could have been way cheaper than now.
oh, 100%. 100% without a doubt. I mean, the bar, right? The little Mugen bars, I think front and rear bars back then, you can buy them brand new for like $600 for front and rear. Now they're selling for about $2,000 for used beat up ones, you know? So it's one of those things that is kind of crazy. Same thing with the intake, right? The intake is like, I want to say nowadays it's about $1,500 to $2,000 depending on condition. You know, you used to be able to get this for $400, $500 all day. You know, same thing with the valve cover. The valve cover now is just outrageous, right? I mean, I don't think that I would spend $10,000 on one. Again, I bought a whole car, and that's how I got the valve cover. But these new, they weren't cheap per se now, because I could be wrong, but I want to say they were like $2,000 brand new back then. The header, we went with the June. I know that's not, you know, a Mugen header, but it's a good header. It's still, you know, like I wanted to stick with like a Japanese brand.
This being built in this generation, modern suspension, modern motor mounts, just so much. I couldn't imagine having something even close to this back in the late 90s. You would be such a boss.
Yeah, right? Yeah. You know, it's funny because I feel like that's why I wanted to build it, because I back then I could envision myself like, you know, getting something like this, but I don't think I was able to like, you know, had like the force of, honestly, I didn't appreciate certain things as much as I do now. But I was like, you know what, I want to do it. I don't have any kids yet, so I was like, you know, this is probably like the last time I'm able to like gather all these parts and put the time. It's funny because a lot of times people don't realize, but like, it's not just finding the parts, it's all the time you put into it, right? This car has been around for a long time. Okay, so this used to be one of the FF squad cars. So his name is Lee Randall. So he owned it. He used to do a lot of, you know, track. So this car has been tracked. It used to be tracked quite often. Then a buddy of mine, his name is Mark. He bought the car. He had it probably for about 7 years, 6 years, something like that. And the car got state refed, so it wouldn't pass the smog check. So he was also kind of over the car, and he's like, hey, would you like to buy the car from me? I got a good deal because obviously it was refed, so it didn't really obviously pass the smog check. And I bought it. It didn't have any of the Mugen parts. It was already a clean shell. I can't, you know, deny that. The paint was already good. Obviously, we polished it and it shined up a lot better. But the car itself was already pretty straight.
So from then, you reached out to your audience saying that I'm looking for these parts, but also you had a bunch, I'm assuming, that you saved up. Because part of your business is selling parts as well as selling the cars, the complete cars.
Yes. So a lot of the parts I did have already from cars that I've had for, you know, in the past, and I kind of just collect the parts. So, and I was like, one day I'll use them. But certain things, like for instance, the brakes, I got them from Joey Lee. So he actually, it's a funny story on these brakes because they're really S2000 calipers, you know, and then they used to have the Mugen logo and a cool rotor, it has an active rotor. Now, he got these brakes in from Japan. They were going to throw them away. He saved them, cleaned them. And he saw that I was doing the whole bill. He reached out like, hey, I got the brakes. You don't have that. I'm like, dude, yeah, I need it.
With something like that, if you just got S2000 brakes and painted it this color, people wouldn't even be able to tell.
Only way would be with the rotor. See the holes in the rotors?
Oh.
So you have to be like a diehard Mugen guy to actually see that. And I don't consider myself a diehard Mugen guy. I'm a Honda guy, which like Mugen parts. But there's a lot of Mugen guys out there that will know every single thing that it's, you know, correct or not correct. But that is an S2000 caliper.
This is so cool.
So this was something that came with the header. So when you buy the header, only the header, you'll get the badge. I don't have the header, but I had the badge. So I was like, cool. And I had that badge, no lie, about 10 years. I remember, I don't know how I got it, to be honest, but I was like, I always see it in my drawer. I'm like, one day I'm gonna use you, one day I'm gonna use you. And then we're putting it together, and my friend's like, oh man, only if you had a Mugen badge. And I'm like, I have a badge. I obviously went looking for it, and and there it is. So it's like, it's my cool little, piece to like set the whole, car.
So cool.
Yeah, aside from that, we have obviously the Mugen seats. So these are the S1 seats. Now, a lot of people don't realize, but we also have the rails. I got these.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool piece. Now, I don't own those rails. Those belong to a buddy of mine that is letting me rock them because he refuses to sell them to me, but he said I can use them for as long as I want. I'm like, okay, that means like I have them for free, so sure.
This is how obsessive you guys are over these Honda parts.
It's one of those things that it just sets it off. Now, those rails nowadays are going for like, I want to say like $4,000 for the pair. I couldn't see myself also paying the $4,000.
If you were to build this now with today's money, what's your estimate in terms of how much it would cost?
Let's just say, without just the parts, without including the car, I want to say in parts, all the Mugen parts is probably an easy $40,000 to probably like $50,000. Yeah, just because like just the valve cover alone is already like $9-10 grand. The steering wheel, so that's the FG360, and that has an optional what is it called, a horn pad. So that cool little horn pad in the middle comes out. Usually people don't have that horn pad, and again, everyone was kind of like really excited about the build, and this horn pad is just, so it comes out. It usually don't come out this easy, but I haven't put the ring on yet. But this is usually how you see the steering wheel. Okay. So now this was an option. Most people didn't really care for this, which makes it so much more rare to have now. Now, what I was saying is that when I purchased that NSX, I met a new friend, a new connection. He saw that I was building the car. He told me, hey, I noticed you don't have the horn pad. I have two. He's like, what's your address? And I'm like, well, here's my address. He sent it to me as a gift. That little piece right there is like $2-3 grand. And he wanted to see the build complete, and he sent me that as a gift with the cool little original box from the horn pad. So I was like in shock when he gave me that, because I'm like, I've never gotten a gift like that. And this is a new friend.
$3,000 for a horn pad?
That's how much a horn pad is. Insane, right?
It's because the steering wheel, and a good condition steering wheel is what? How much is that?
That one of these is like $5-6 grand, just without the horn pad.
So just that steering wheel alone potentially could be $9,000.
With the horn pad, yeah. $8 to $9 grand, 100%.
Just from the steering wheel and the valve cover together,
that's
potentially 19 to 20 grand.
About, yeah. It's pretty, I probably have more than 50 grand in Mugen parts. I like not to think about it. Believe it or not.
So then how much?
I have not done the math because I don't want to know how much money, because then I can get tempted to be like, hey, well, I can sell this and get this much money out of it, right?
So then how much do you think this car with the parts, like 90 grand?
I've been off for 80.
80.
For the car as is. I feel like it can possibly, to the right buyer, could fetch 90 to, in the 90s range. I wouldn't say 100, but in the 90s range. Because a 97 ITR is already pretty hard to get. They only made 320 of them. That's it. 1 year car, right? Older front end.
You know, the real flex for me is the fact that this is a US car,
yes.
Left-hand drive, right? Because there are these type of builds in Japan.
Oh, 100%.
Right-hand drive.
Correct.
But also with the different front end. This is the US front end. Like you said, this is very rare because it's only 300 and however many.
Yeah, 320.
Yeah.
320. So, yeah, I mean, we got the cluster as well in there. Now, the cluster is not as expensive as the spoon one. The spoon clusters can go for like $6-7 grand for an Integra. These are going for about $3,500. Surprisingly, that's still not as crazy, which is still a lot of money though for that cluster.
What about the cage?
This is an auto power.
Okay, just a bolt-in.
Just a bolt-in, yeah. Nothing crazy fancy, but that's his job.
It's just so tasteful.
Thank you. Yeah.
This is such a tasteful build, and it's just everything's so complete.
Oh yeah.
I love this. Even like these kind of
details. Yeah.
What is that from?
Mugen.
Oh, that's a Mugen part too.
Yeah, Mugen sells the little cover for the mirror.
I bet you, when we look back on this, we'll miss something, because there's just so many different little things.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
agree.
what the Honda guys like. This is the lip that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, this is the lip. It's a Mugen lip. So obviously for the JDM front end, they have the Mugen bumper, which is a pretty nice bumper. The bumper for the JDM front end is probably about $5 grand, which surprisingly this lip sells for like the same price for a lip, all right? But the lip is one of those things that you must have.
I love driving my 996 Turbo, but after a few weeks, the battery always goes dead. When it needed a jump start using the lead acid battery, I had to pop off the cover for the keyhole, open the door with a key, pop off the fuse cover, plug in the jump starter to the vehicle to open the front, take off the cover for the battery, then jump start the car. I can skip all of that with built-in wireless jump start. All I have to do is press this button on my anti-gravity key fob, and then I'm off enjoying my car. Besides the 80s and 90s Hondas, you also specialize in the newer chassis.
Correct. So
specifically the Type Rs.
Specifically Type R. So it'd be like the FK8, FL5, or their new Integra Type S. So that's kind of how this shop started, which is our craft. We wanted to, cater to, that market, which isn't huge, but we do know that sometimes when you take, your Honda Civic Type R to certain shops, they see it as just a Honda Civic and they don't give it the care or, have an idea how things work. So we opened the shop to specialize in, those customers because, to me, this car, when it was, still is, but when it was whole stock, it was my pride and joy, right? So I want to be able to take care of those cars for those people in the same way, right? It doesn't have to be a BMW M3 in order for you to, be nice and careful with it. This is my 2017 Honda Civic Type R. I bought this car as my daily driver back in 2017. This was honestly one of the biggest goals I had. I was able to achieve the car. I used to drive the car with a blanket on top of the red seat because I don't want to mess it up. And I was already into racing. I had an Integra that's up there on the rack, and that used to be my track car. I took this to the track once, and I was like, this car handles so well. It has so much potential. And somehow I got carried away, and I started, I was like, hey, let's take this to the track. And I start removing the back seats. And then after that, the back panels, we put coilovers and LSD. And
you're that meme.
I am.
You're that meme. It's like,
I need a daily for the daily.
You need a daily for the daily. And also, babe, I'm going to keep it stock. Look at this. Wait, is this from?
This is from from Honda, HPD Honda. Yeah. It's a real TCR kid.
How the hell did you get that?
We told them the plan that we had for the car, and they were willing to work with us. So they sold us the kit because only race teams are able to get this. Well, it's a whole kit, right? So from bumpers, skirts. I love this car. This is probably, it's definitely the fastest car that I have. A button wheel. This thing set at 149. This is before this craziness. Yeah, 149. On paper, because that was on a fun day. On paper, on Global Time Attack event, on the finals, I did a 150.2, I believe, which still makes it the fastest Civic Type R, and at least on a button wheel. It makes it actually the fastest Civic Type R in a lot of tracks that I've been to. But this car it was really fun. It was really fast, and then I was like, I hit the 49, and I'm like, all right, well the 49 is kind of like the new Sub 2. Kind of, and I was like, I want to go into 44, 45. So we're like, you know what? We're gonna get the kit. We're gonna make wider wheels, build the motor, because this was done with the stock motor. Stock transmission uses diff, and a stronger fourth gear. It always goes out. I got a sequential for it now. I've built motor. It's on JRCs as well. It's fully gutted. So now we're gonna actually send the car to get a full cage because I don't feel like it's safe enough to go for mid 40s and with a roll bar. I was able to take it at Long Beach because 1 year, Global Time Attack, I was able to do the Long Beach. Yeah. So this car was there. So I was one of the competitors. Yeah, so I was pretty stoked that I was able to take this car there.
I have pictures of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there in this car.
That was you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I kind of paused the build. I hate to say it like that because I hate, once a lot of people do that and they kind of just let it sit forever. I did that because obviously I got this shop and I got a lot more busy and I'm like, I keep saying, okay, once things settle, I'll be able to, continue the build. I have almost all the parts for it. It is a goal to start it this year, hopefully within the next 2 months. I am obviously really knowledgeable with how this chassis, how it works, what works on track, what doesn't work, how you don't get it to overheat, what are like the weak points. So we know all that in this car. And I'm lucky enough that my main tech, he is all about FK8. So he's like, a gig about it. And he knows every certain thing about the bolts or whatnot. And we get so many cars that come in and, things are put backwards and things that you would never realize, but not anyone can just put, as easy as it sounds, not anyone can just put springs on a car and do the right job, right? So we know how to make sure that everything works fine on these things.
You want to talk about insane? Look at all these keys.
Yeah.
Holy wow.
It's funny because we roll this thing up and we call it a sushi roll because we always take that. I never leave keys here. We always take all the keys home for whether it's, customer car or personal cars. It's one of those pet peeves that keys will never stay in the shop.
Whoa. Dude,
yeah.
This is cool. So this is the original brochure.
Yeah.
It's funny. I know exactly where they shot this. Right. This is.
Let me see. Let me take a guess. Is this in downtown?
Yeah. Second Street.
Second
tunnel.
Street. Yeah.
But it's funny because back then this was fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't have LED yet, but it's just so cool.
Yep. I have two of them.
That is awesome. There you go, Peter, right there. Peter Cunningham.
Where? Oh yes, yeah, right
there.
Yeah.
Our boy Pete.
Let's see. This is a cool piece. I remember this is one of the first Honda parts that I ever saw for sale at AutoLink, the shop that used to be in Almani. And I didn't buy this then because it used to be $600. And back in 2007, I'm like, $600 for this? No way. Right? It doesn't make any power. Why should I buy it for $600? And nowadays, one of these guys is about, give it or take 10 to 11 grand for one of these clusters. This is the Spoon EK cluster.
And this one's used.
This is used, yeah. This is used.
If you found a new one, it would be
outrageous. Yeah, they've sold up to like 13 to 14 grand. That's how much they've sold for at peak, probably like a year and a half ago. Now I don't know exactly, what this is, somebody will pay, but it's safe to say that if you put it up for 10 grand, it will be sold within a few hours.
So then, like, what car does it fit in?
This only fits on the 96 to 2000 Honda Civic, and it doesn't do anything at all. It just looks cool. So I had the chance to buy this. I didn't buy this for 600, but back then I had the chance to buy this at AutoLink for $600, and I'm like, there's no way. I remember at the time I bought Ben & Tow hooks instead for $80, and I didn't buy that. I wish I would have bought it. I mean, a lot of us wish we would have bought these things that, who would have ever known, right? How would you know that certain pieces were gonna be worth so much at the end, So this is for actually one of my builds. It's for EK hatchback that I have up there.
So it's going into one of your own cars?
Yeah, it's gonna go into one of my cars, yeah. Yeah, same thing. Watch, this is another cool, this is a Spoon steering wheel. So this is a Gen 2. It's a little scratched up, but what makes a Gen 2 is the colors, the red and the blue. The Gen 3 will be green and yellow, and the Gen 1 will be yellow and red. Gen 1 is going for about like $2,500. One of these is about $1,200. The new ones that you could still get, those are about $400 brand new. So they all look the same. The only difference is the colors on the Spoon horn button.
That's a deal.
That's a deal.
Yeah. Now you get now, if they go up in price, you got to get a bunch of them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, maybe we should buy more of the Gen 3s and have them for there. It's funny that you mentioned that though, but I also feel like a lot of these parts are worth a lot of money now. But, realistically, the reason these parts are worth so much money now is because when we were, 18 to 22, a lot of us couldn't afford those parts. And now that, you have a good job, and things like that, you could buy the parts, right? Now, what I believe is that maybe in 20 years from now, a lot of us are going to be like, kind of maybe, I don't want to say over it, but not as enthusiastic about it. And I think that maybe the new generation probably won't be as, into these things as much as we are. So I don't think that just because of the time passes, things are going to be worth so much more. Because if the customer, base isn't there, then, I don't know.
But there was one point in time when these cars, I wouldn't say they were unloved, but they were not worth that much money.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you could buy an Integra Type R at one point, I'm sure under 10 grand.
Oh yeah, I bought one for $6 grand. My first one, $6,500. First ATR, 98.
And then that was just that era where it wouldn't make sense for you to have a business like this.
Oh, no.
It would be hard to make money.
100%. I've always been a firm believer of do what you love and, and the money will come. I think that Instagram's definitely what clicked it for me because, people are able to see what I've sold, see we have common friends, they trust you, right? So it's kind of like the new forums in a way. It is the new forums. And I started doing it at the right time. I mean, I definitely got lucky in that. I started just, selling all these parts and, my main thing was always putting good deals, right? So I wasn't so much about making the most I can out of an item, but I genuinely love to sell someone a good deal. I get that satisfaction. And I think that people honestly do see that. I don't think that people usually feel like, hey, I got ripped off by Jose. He sold me this for so much more. I get really happy someone buys something from me and let's say 6 months or a year from now, they sell it and they make a profit. Beautiful. Because I already made my part that I was happy with, right? And then they're able to, got what they got from me, be able to be, in a sense, a good investment. So I've always been about, about that. I'm always about the people. It's funny because sometimes people are like, oh, you left money on the table. And I'm like, it's just not all about the money sometimes. Don't get me wrong, money buys you cool things, sure, I agree that. But it's also about, the connections you make with all these people, right? Obviously, this, the story about getting the horn for free, the pad. Me and that person that I bought the car, we made a good connection where, he felt like I deserved to get that, So I'm like, a lot of people wouldn't do that, But I do the same. People sometimes will call me and ask me for, I don't know, an alternator. And I'll just give it to them for free. Probably gonna get calls for alternators all the time now, but it's just one of those things that not everything is about the money.
What goes around comes around.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I believe in karma. I do.
And honestly, something as small of a gesture like that horn, it means more to you now versus you paying $3,000 for
100%. Now I'm like, I can never sell a steering wheel. I'm like, sweet. Yeah. I was like, I can never sell it. And that's just the way I am. That's my favorite car. I don't even know why I have it. I have it on top because that's the safest way to have it. But if you were to ask me if there was a horrific fire to happen here and what car I would save, it would be this car. This is the car that I love the most. It's the first car that I started doing time attack in. It's the one that I kind of like, I made a lot of friends. I got to, meet all these people. I, in a way, also got fast. When I started tracking this car, I used to run like a 201 up on Willow, and then, I've been able to drop it to a 152 and this is still like a NA car, on a street tire. I know it's not on a street tire right now, but I was able to do that 152 on a street tire. And this car also is a kind of in a way what got me into, definitely into racing and known by a lot of people because I was out there, I was racing the car. All I did is just work on this car. And I also got this car in a pretty rough time of my life. My dad had cancer at the time. And he used to live in Peru back then. And I feel like this car was like, I didn't really want to think about, all these bad things. And the car was like my safe space. At the same time, I also had a golden retriever that everyone knew back then. I had a dog. He was always in all my photos, and he was always with me when this car was being built. So when I see this car, I see him, I see him. I see the time that I was able to overcome. So it's one of those, so like everyone's like, oh, there's always a price that you'll sell it for. I'm like, there just isn't a price. Like, I don't think that I can live with me saying like I was able to sell it, If one day I need the money, I'll sell the wheels, I'll sell everything, but I will keep the car. Everything else, sure, it can definitely, go one day. But that and the FK8 are one of those things that I can't sell. That is a 2000 Civic Tafeta white hatchback. It's a 1 year only. They only made this in 2000. And this one particular, it's an automatic. I got it all stock from the first owner. A friend of mine has a dealership, and someone actually traded this into CarMax, and he's like, hey, I know you like hatchbacks, do you want to buy it? And I'm like, oh, that looks pretty clean, I'll buy it. And it had a lot of miles, but I didn't care. I'm like, I don't care about the swap, I'm gonna swap it anyways. So yeah, I got this cool bad boy for like $5,000. It's probably the best deal I ever got because these things stock nowadays are going for like 10 G's for a white hatchback, and this is all original paint except for the front bumper.
So what makes it 1 year special? Like, why did it only come out for 1 year?
So Honda just decided to do the Tafeta white for the hatchbacks only in 2000. Aside from that, in 96 you'll have like red, black, there's that cool purple, the green, every color, but not white.
The seats are incredible.
Oh yeah, they are.
I can't believe the condition of these things.
And that's an original seat from back in the 90s. Yeah, they're pretty clean. So that cluster is for this car that I'm going to be putting.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, it's still single cam automatic. The motor is there, but I'm just waiting for the right time because I need to, once we take the engine out, I want to respray the engine bay to make it look pretty. The craziest thing is that this car has 230,000 miles and this is the original paint. The guy that gave me the horn pad sold me this car, the NSX.
So how is this not your pride and joy? This is a real NSXR.
No, this is not an NSXR.
Oh, it's not?
No. So for some reason he put a little tag there.
Okay.
This is not. This is a 92 GP Grand Prix white.
Okay.
It does make it very rare because they didn't make a lot of the whites. In 92 or all those years, they only made the red and the black. Mm-hmm. But no, I love this car. This car is dope. But I don't know. For me, I don't think that what makes my pride and joy is rarity. It's just, again, more of a connection that I made with the car and things like that.
So what do you do with this car? Is this your cruiser?
Yeah, I got it as a cruiser. I also buy certain cars kind of as investments. It's one of those things, so if you have the money and you spend it in a car, then you don't spend it on dumb things. You know, like
that's a good way to put it.
If I don't see the money in the bank, then it's cool. I don't have money to spend it.
So is this modified at all?
Yeah, it's slightly modified. So we just have coilovers and then obviously the Mugen MF10s. And aside from that, those are 04 or 05 red seats. I have the stock ones. Those are a little more, I guess, rare. But it's all stock. It has an ARC intake. It's got an exhaust. That's about it.
When do you think was the changeover when it was like casual Honda enthusiasts or people that just had Hondas and they would modify them, they would destroy them and crash them?
That's a good question.
And then all of a sudden they became special and rare. And
I want to say mid 2015 to 2017, it clicked. Because before that, you would buy it and destroy it, like you said, you know. I mean, myself, I used to, you know, I had a Type R, and I don't know Type R, who cares, right? So now I used to drive it, or any Integra for that matter, and I feel like in 2010, 11, 12, 13, people didn't really care as much, but it's probably into the, you know, that mid 2015, 16 that people started caring a lot more. 10 years ago.
And it's not just the US either, it's
everywhere.
Worldwide, right?
It's worldwide.
Because I'm assuming you sell worldwide your parts everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah, I do. I sell them everywhere. It is... definitely the US set the trend on these prices, you know, but the whole world, you know, picks up on it. In Japan, things were cheap back in the day, right? You were able to buy an Integra Type R for like $6,000, $5,000, you know, and then if you were in the import business, bring it here, part it out, make all the money in the world. But obviously Japan also caught on to where their items are being sold here, so they started selling them for obviously a lot more.
And I'm assuming a lot of this stems from the fact that they were unloved and a lot of them got crashed and destroyed, and the few that survived are just worth that much more. Yeah,
100%. I mean, most of them, like you said, they got crashed, stolen. I mean, I don't think that there's, you know, you can talk to a group of Honda guys for that one at least having the car stolen in the past. That was a big thing back in the day. Cars got stolen all the time. I also feel like that's the reason it clicked. All these cars were getting stolen, and now people don't want to drive them. Right, I don't drive this to the market because my car might not be there when I come back, right? So people started, you know, treating them as more of a, you know, of a luxury car, something that, you know, you kind of like have to take care of so much more. And I feel like that's when people are like, okay, they're worth money, you know, everything's stolen, so everything's crashed or whatnot. So if it's that time that it click, I feel like.
These have become point A to point A cars.
Yes.
You leave, but you come back.
Yes,
to the same
that's
place.
I've never seen point. That's literally what it is. It's a point A to point A car. And people that have these cars, they take care of them a lot. I mean, they take care of them more than Porsche guys. You know, I don't think that anything that is valuable or rare has to just be about money, right? Because, you know, I can tell you that, you know, I don't know, like money is, like, you know, for instance, perfect example, like the 97, right? To somebody, you know, this might just be an Integra or, you know, or whatnot. But to someone, like, to me, this is like a dream, right? So I can really put a price. Like if I go and spend I don't know, let's just say 200 grand on a GT3 RS, it might sound dumb, but I still might get more joy of driving this than the GT3 RS, you know? Of course the GT3 RS is cooler and it will drive faster or whatnot, but the fact that you're able to, you know, like put all these parts together and, you know, the people that you meet and everything else doesn't really have a value to that. You know, there's no value. It's priceless. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think you're talking about the enthusiasm part of it.
100%.
You know, the culture and the hobby part of it versus just having a fast car.
Of course, yeah. Just having a fast car, or like, there's certain things that, people that have money might never be able to just buy it just because they have the money, right? Because you got to find it first. This one here is a real EK9. It's on a K series on Tota ATVs. This was built by a buddy of mine, Angel. He owns Art of Attack. So this is like a street car and track car. It's a pretty nice build. Obviously has a lot of nice quality parts.
Right-hand drive.
Yeah, it's a real right-hand drive. I mean, if you look at the engine is super nice. Honestly, I don't know how many people really buy Tota ATVs, but he did. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this thing rips. We just did a clutch up. He brought it in so we could change the clutch. So
like this is the quality of car that you work on. They are of this level of build.
Correct. This is a 96 Honda Civic hatchback. This is a US model. It has a bit of a spoon theme. So we have a spoon hood, spoon lip, spoon wheels, spoiler. And aside from that, it has a V16. It has AC power steering. So
Whose car is this?
this one is actually one of the cars that I have that I'm going to be selling. Yeah. So
then you put together
cars.
like a dream build.
Yes.
Like if somebody were to dream, like I want EK spoon car, like they would imagine something like this.
Yeah, this is, I would say, probably 60% there. It still needs like the seats, the mirrors, and a lot of more things. But this is probably like an entry-level spoon theme car. This one has a V16, but the whole point was, still retaining the AC. Having something that has a little more power than the single cam, but you're able to, still when you pop the hood, it looks stock. My main thing has always been about when you put a swap, that it looks like it belongs there, right? So I know it's in the air, but that EG, we did a GSR swap. When you pop the hood, the car looks just like if it was meant to be there, right? So sometimes some people care too much about hiding wires and things like that, and I'm not so much about that. I kind of like the original aesthetic look.
How much is something like this going for?
Something like this is about, I want to say a car like this, the V16 and the spoon stuff in this condition, it's probably like around 20 to 24 grand, in that range. Yeah.
Pretty reasonable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and then on this one, it's not even that much of a crazy profit margin, but it was fun doing it in the process, and someone gets to enjoy it. So it's just
because like if you were to do this yourself
from scratch,
you'll
be way more.
It would be more, and it would take a long time, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah.
To source the parts and
correct.
everything.
Yeah, to be fair, because I know I haven't really thought of the exact number. I want to say that it should fetch about between 23 and 25 should be the most reasonable number. Something like this to build, just the car stock will cost you about 6 to 7 grand nowadays for a stock one, which will be really hard to still find. So let's say 7 grand. And and then when you go on, you get a V16 swap, right? It's still an entry-level engine, but a V16 motor is probably about 4 grand or so. But now the work to put it in and whatnot, so you're already instantly in the $15,000 range.
And good luck finding one that is clean, rust-free for 6 grand.
Oh yeah, no. If you find one for 7 grand stock in this condition, it'll be sold within the next hour or two. So something like this will cost a lot more money. A lot of the parts they came from different cars, so it's not like a lot of the things are very new, so it makes the cost a lot cheaper on the car. But yes, it's definitely costs a lot of money to build these Hondas. People don't realize that. This belongs to a customer of ours. This is his first car he ever bought in high school. It's automatic, so he got the whole car painted. The motor came out. It was a automatic H23, I believe, and now we're putting a JDM H22. I'm converting it to stick shift. This is a 2000 ITR. It's got a K20 motor in there, but it was sitting in the backyard for a while, so we're gonna bring it back to life. I will consider this ITR being a bit more on the beater side, with all the respect to the owner, but I believe that every ITR deserves a chance to come back to life because they were made, there were so little of them. So same thing with that one. That other ITR there, that one was fully gutted, and it was more of a track car, and it's still obviously, like you see, the fenders were still rolled or whatnot, but we made it more of a streetable version. So I was able to source all the interior. So we have all the Type R interior, still K series, and this is a car that we're gonna be selling actually. So this is a K20 Type R motor in here. It's an iBlock R2s. It's a clean title car. Obviously it has a JDM front end. It's funny because back in the day, this was the thing to do, right? You have an Integra, you put a JDM front end, and in a way, nowadays it devalues the fact that if you have a JDM front end, everybody wants the original front end with like all the little VIN numbers.
It turned around.
It turned, yeah. Back then you would pay more if you had a JDM front end. But everything turned around, yeah. Everything turned. Who would have known? Same thing with those CRs. So those things, nobody wanted those things back in the day. They were kind of like sitting at the lots, and they weren't worth as much. This is a customer car as well. We're doing an HKS supercharger. So this cool little kit's gonna go in there.
Because the CR is pretty much like the Honda send-off, right? For the S2000.
Correct.
And it was more uncomfortable. It had less things, I feel like, because it was more track focused. It
had less things. Most of them, a lot of them didn't have AC, which is kind of crazy because I don't want a car with no AC. I mean, unless I'm in a different state. So they didn't have AC. They were definitely louder inside. The suspension was stiffer. And so it just wasn't, and people, I feel like obviously in 08, people didn't see Honda as the car that they wanted to spend all the money on. They weren't cheap. They were like in their $40,000, 40 something, 44, 45 grand for them.
Yeah, but now, good luck finding a good condition one.
Now if you find a CR that has all the VINs and it has decent mileage, let's say like 50,000 miles, it's like a $70,000 car, which is insane. This one has 30,000 miles. So it's got 30,000 miles. It was all original. We just put the spoon calipers, spoon brakes, brand new Öhlins. So when the customer brought me the car all stock, and he's like, "Hey, I want to do this." I'm like, why? I'm like, why do you want to do that to the CR? I'm like, the car's worth so much. Sometimes I can, like, I think too much of like value, because obviously that's what I do for a living. But I mean, I give them props, right? It's all stock right now. So gotta bring down the intake. We put the headers on already.
Wow, this is gonna be some crazy CR.
Yeah, I mean,
supercharged.
He also wants those C28s at the bottom. He brought me the wheels. We're gonna put the new tires in there. So He's like, I want 1710s. I'm like, you have to shave the fenders, right? He's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm like, okay, sounds good. I'm like, well, you're paying, so whatever you want to do, we'll do it. This one here is a 07 S2000. We're going to put a couple things. We got a lip for that's getting painted. We got MF10s, the bronze MF10s. So my guy just went to put brand new tires in it. So these two cars actually are gonna be giveaway cars, the FK8 and the S2000.
What a giveaway car.
A giveaway car, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So somebody's gonna take this car.
Lucky.
Home. Someone will be lucky. There's been a lot of lucky people already.
How many cars have you given away already?
10, 12, not that many. 10, 12. Yeah, something of that nature.
So do you build something that you would want?
Yes. I like to build something that I would definitely enjoy and drive. This is something that I would definitely own, right? So this is an FK8. It's semi-stock, but it's on KWs. Obviously, we have the T37s. Nothing too crazy. It's got an exhaust. Giving things that people could actually enjoy rather than winning something that you won't use. If you get something that you can drive and enjoy on a daily basis. I also like doing things that if you get it and if you don't want it, you can sell it, you can get a lot of money. Sometimes, I've seen some out there, people getting some cars, and there's some pretty bad wins out there that I'm like, I don't even want this for free type of thing. So I care on the product. Like this car, for instance, still needs to get a whole polish. So we're gonna do a whole 2-stage polish and make it all nice and pretty. It's all original, one owner car. S2000, that one has the Mugen wing. Again, we're gonna put those Mugen MF10s. We put a Recaro seat in it. It's a pretty basic, build. Nothing too crazy. You want to see more cool wheels? These are cool. So these are the M7s, kind of like the ones that are there, but the 4 lugs. So these are outrageous. I pay 10 grand for these. I know. I usually don't spend that much money. Those are worth around like 5-6 grand, but they're the 5 lugs. But the 4 lugs are super rare. So I bought them from a buddy of mine. His name is Chen, and he's from, I forgot what state he's from.
So I would have thought that the 4-lug version is
cheaper.
Worth less and it's cheaper because this is more sought after, but it's the other way around.
On this particular wheel, it's the other way around. These, they made a lot more in the 5 Lux, and the 4 Lux were pretty rare. Not many people made those, yeah. Or not many people bought them, I guess, actually. This is supposed to just be a nice cruiser. It still has AC, power steering, and it has a GSR. So this car was also reffed. So it had an LSV tech and the car got reffed. So we're like, oh, let's put a GSR, take it to get barred. So it's almost there.
So you can save the car if it does get reffed by making it legal again and putting all the smog stuff back in.
Yeah, that's what this car was. So this car had all this, exhaust, intake manifold, all that. And I was able to source all the stock parts and take it to the referee station. I failed the first time. They failed me for, actually the actual small check the cat was not good. I put a cat and it was, I guess, not a good one. So we had to go back again and we put in a better cat and it passed the smog. So then they'll clear it. But on a car like my Integra that has a K series and blah, blah, if that gets reffed, now what, right?
Right, but that's your race car now.
I don't care. Yeah, I'm like, I don't even drive it on the street, But on a car like this, it's definitely worth saving. This car was supposed to be something that you can drive, enjoy, it has some nice power. We didn't go too much into detail with, clearing anything out. Kind of wanted, still leave like the cruise control, power steering, all the harness. It was just more of a driver.
Honda guys, just a different level. It's such a worldwide movement.
Mm-hmm, it is. I mean, I get people from all over the world trying to buy and selling me things. So the funny thing is that when I post something for sale, then people will reach out to me saying, hey, I also have that too. Do you want to buy it, right? Because they know that I have the market, right? So when I was building this, a lot of people, that's how I got those other seats. Because they're like, hey, I have those seats. You want to buy them? I'm like, yeah, I'll buy them, right? So maybe I'll find another buyer for those parts. So it's funny because whenever I sell a car, then you'll see almost the same car because someone will be like, hey, I have that car, I'm selling it. Or they see the price that I sold it for and they're willing to sell it for a little cheaper, and make a quick transaction.
What do you think about the manufacturers now? Like, are they seeing this resurgence and are they adapting? For example, like Spoon and Mugen and...
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like they're kind of capitalizing on it.
Oh, 100%. Even just Honda.
Are they remaking any of these parts to keep these things alive?
Yes. Spoon, Mugen, mainly Spoon still makes a lot of the parts for all these older Hondas. They'll still make the exhaust, they make coilovers, they make, the seats. A lot of the parts are still available, and they obviously the calipers. There's a big market for them. Sometimes things are back ordered because they can't really keep up with the demand. So we had Honda here maybe about 5 months ago, HRC. So they were here and they came because they're going to start making more aftermarket carb legal parts for the newer cars. So like for the FK, the FL5, they're gonna start making an exhaust and all these things, kind of like the yellow type that you saw that they make. They wanna start making all these parts for the customer base because they know there's a big market for it.
What did Honda, like we're talking about Honda North America, what was it like for them to visit your spot, to show them these cars?
It was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie to you, because when they told me, hey, we wanna visit and talk about a few things, I wasn't so sure. They just came, right? They didn't tell me what they came for. And I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, sounds good. And then when they came, they obviously saw all these cars and they were pretty stoked because even though, they see Hondas, they see the new stuff, right? They don't see the old stuff. They were pretty stoked, and I personally feel really well, and I'm really happy about it because it's one of those things that my passion became this, where even Honda's kind of they wanted my opinion. So that's what they came for. They wanted my opinion in what parts, what customers would want, right? Should we make exhaust? Should we make this? They were really curious on what the market would want. So they kind of pretty much came to do their market research. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me happy because a company like Honda, they're still making fun to drive cars now, sporty cars that continues this legacy, right, of these incredible cars from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, all the way till now.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that they had a bit of a dead spot, maybe in 2004 and 5 with Honda. They didn't really have nothing cool. Obviously, the S2000, aside from the S2000, they didn't really have anything. It was all Acura had, the RSX and things like that. But then I feel like when they brought the Type R, I don't think that they really realized the magnitude of the Type R was going to bring into all these customers that we're going to get out of it. I feel like they made it more of a flagship car, and then it just did really well. And obviously they made so much, they capitalized from it so much more. But the Type R, it's a great car. I mean, for the money, when they came out, I mean, if you didn't pay markup, they were 34 grand. And I don't think that there's many cars that you could buy in the $30,000 range that you can go take to the track and run a sub-2 lap, pretty much stock, right? I mean, it handles well, it looks good, and, it's comfortable. It has, a turbo and 4 cylinders. It makes 320 horsepower of 315. So I think that Honda made a great job with the F-K. And they continue that, I mean, if you drive an FL5, it's an FK, but it's so much more comfortable, much more modern, and they keep pushing and setting the bar higher and higher. I think that Honda definitely cares, for all these customers that they have, and knowing that they're gonna take these cars and enjoy them. It's more than just a point A to point B. A lot of these people really enjoy these cars.